Okay, so in today's DBMS class, we are going to study about DBMS languages, DBA and database users. In previous class, we had some scenario about what was the DBMS, different DBMS database languages. But today in details, we will read what is the different database languages and about their definitions and some other points related to those languages. Each and every fact today we will study. Okay, so first of all, data definition language, that is our DDL, right? So what is DDL? It generally provides facility to specify some constraints, as we have studied already that it specifies about some constraints. It is related to the constraints. So what kind of constraints are these related and what are these types of constraints? Okay, so whenever we are talking about data definition languages, it is related to defining the data, right? Like creating the table. So there we have to define each and every data with what we are going to provide there in the table. So the each and every attribute about their whatever their data types are and what how up to how many numbers we are going to give the particular data. These all kinds of things we are going to give in when we are going to write the data definition language. Also inserting the data. So we have studied about these all things. Now what is the whole details about data definition language? Now you can see here that first one is the domain constraint. What is about domain constraint? So basically based on integer type or character type, integer, character, date, time, etc. It can be tested whenever a new data item is inserted in the database. Like, so it is basically about domain constraint. What is domain constraint? So it is about integer type. The data can be some type of integer, that is our numbers, whole numbers, some kind of characters, some kinds of alphabets or some letters like this, or some special characters, date, time, etc. So basically domain constraint is related to integers, character, date, time, this all kinds of things, right? And it can be tested whenever new data item is inserted in the database. If some new data item, as we are using the insert, I have already told you that insert is a kind of DDL, since we are defining each and everything about the data. So when we are talking about inserting some new data item, at that time this domain constraint happens. What happens? Example is joining date between a particular range. When we are going to write the joining date, right, there we find this kind of constraints are allowed, that those joining dates which are from this date to 1st November, suppose 1st November 2024 to 30th November 2024. So I am giving a range, a particular range is provided. This is the constant. I am giving a particular constant, domain constant, that this kind of dates can be taken from 1st November to 30th November. So this is a particular constant. Constant means what? A particular range is being fixed there. I am fixing a range for each and every data which I am providing. Whenever I am going to insert, when you are going to test that one, how you will test that this kind of constant is allowed at the time of when you are going to insert the data. At that time you are going to find that you can test that yes, the constant is going right or not, it's correct or not. That you are fixing the constant at the time of making the table. But when you are inserting the data, that time you can test that constraint. Suppose I have made the data, I have created the database, the table, right? Now when I'm inserting the data, or the person who is inserting the data, that time he or she can see that some constraint is there, that the range of date who the person who have joined between suppose 1st October to 31st October. So this is the constant, this is the range which I have fixed. So whenever I am fixing this particular constant, particular date, at that time the person who is going to insert the date, he will know that if he is going to put some date before that 1st October, it will throw an error, it will not take that particular date. Why? Since some constant had been fixed there. Again, if the person is giving some date of a employee who had joined after 31st October, that particular date will also be not taken by the system, because that is also out of the constraint. So at the time of inserting the data in the database, that time you can only test what is the domain constant, whether the domain constant is being satisfied or not. right? So whenever you are going for this particular thing, you have to see that a particular range, suppose a range of 1st October to your 31st October, this is the range. So before this range and after this range, nothing is allowed while inserting the data. Whenever you are going to insert the data, so this range is basically maintained. You cannot give anything beside that range. Okay, before that range it will not be taken, or after that range it will not be taken. So this particular range has been fixed there. So it mainly happens if you are giving some integer value, some character value, or some date time. Again, some time can also be there in the domain constraint. Like you are giving the some about some data, some event occurring between 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. So before 9 a.m. and after 10 p.m. if some event occurs and the database creator or the who is going to insert the data, he is going to insert that particular event whose time is before 9 a.m. or it is after 10 p.m. that will not be inserted in your database since a constraint is fixed there. So this constraint, whenever you are fixing a particular constraint, at that time you will obviously know that the system will not take any data out of this particular constraint, whatever is fixed. So this is the domain constraint. This is the particular domain, the particular range which I am fixing for my particular user. User cannot, or the database administrator who is going to insert the data, he or she cannot change that one. Inserting data within that range is very important. So this is what is happening in your domain constraint. Some domain is fixed, some constraint you are fixing which is having some range. Out of that range no data will be inserted. So at the time when you are going to insert the data, you can only test this kind of constraint. Otherwise you cannot test the domain constraint. Domain constraint can only be tested if you are going to, when you are going to insert the data, you will see whether some error is showing or it will show some message that this cannot be inserted because it's out of range. So this is what is called domain constraint. Okay, so domain constraint is one is within your DDL, that is your data definition language. It is very important. Okay, the range is fixed. We are fixing many kinds of domain constraint are fixed whenever making a particular table, right? Now next is your referential integrity. What is referential integrity? Cases where a value that appears in one relation, okay, for a given set of attributes also appears as in a certain set of attributes in another relation. So if in some cases, right, a value that appears in one relation in a set of attributes, again that particular value again is repeated in another relation in again some set of attributes. So these kind of things are known as integrity, that is a referential integrity. Like department name, a course value record must be present in some record of the department relation. If we are going to write the name of the department in a course, okay, so if courses are written but some department name, each and every time if a department relation is being made, at that time the course value, okay, that is your department name of a course value record must be present in some record of the department relation. So if department relation is being made, right, so in each and every department, suppose some courses are there for each and every department. So if for my IT department or my CSC department, if I have some courses, like I have some software engineering courses, some networking courses, some C language courses, so these are the different courses within a particular department. Now if I have some courses in a particular department, so when I am going to write a department relation, maybe a person who is they are present in one particular course may be present in another particular course also, same person. So that in that case he is from a particular course. When I am making the department relation for a particular person, there can be two different courses, right? So the department name is there in one relation, again it is in the set of attributes, again in set of attributes of another relation, this is again his name is repeated since he is admitted to both the particular courses. So this kind of thing is known as referential integrity, where any value any particular value is present in set of attributes of one relation, as well as it is also present in set of attributes of another relation. Department name will be present in different, some of the values of your different department relation, the department name will be present. So this department name will be the attribute of a particular course. The department name can be, it can be in both of the particular relations, right? So this is what is there in your referential integrity. This is also a part of your DDL, that is data definition language. Again here some definition is being created, so it is also there in your data definition language, right? So here department name will be present in each and every, that is your department name of a course value record must be present in some record of the department relation. It should be present, obviously it will be present. So this is what is there in your referential integrity. Now assertion, what is assertion? It is any condition that the database must always satisfy. If I am giving any kind of condition which the database should always satisfy, that particular condition will be called as my assertion, right? Now every department must have at least 5 courses offered for every semester. So I am putting a particular assertion that every department, suppose you have CSC, IT, ECE and etc departments are there, but I am fixing a assertion. What kind of assertion? That here no ranges are there. If ranges were there, then it will be domain, your domain constraint, but here no ranges are there. Here I am putting a assertion that each and every course should have at least 5 courses. Each and every department should have at least 5 courses. So this is what is called assertion. At least 5 courses should be present in each and every department. So this assertion, when I am putting an assertion on a particular database, the database must satisfy that condition. Whatever condition I am putting, okay, so that database must satisfy that particular condition. If it doesn't satisfy that condition, if I am putting some courses in IT department, 4 courses or maybe less than that, so at that time the particular message will be shown that it will not be inserted. Again some error will be formed. So this is an assertion that each and every database, if some assertion is put there, then we have to see that that assertion should be fulfilled. That 5 courses for each and every department is fixed, at least 5 courses, not 5, at least 5 courses. So you have to maintain that assertion that each and every department should have at least 5 courses, otherwise it will show some error. So this is also a particular type, but since here no range is given, here only some assertion is given, but at that time we were giving a particular domain that was called domain constraint. Since we were putting some constraint, some kinds of barrier, some kinds of constraint is put that you cannot cross that barrier, you cannot cross that particular constraint. So a particular domain is being fixed in case of domain constraint, but here some particular condition is fixed. That condition should be, obviously should be satisfied by or should be maintained by the database. It have to follow that one. That is called your assertion, particular assertion, right? So each and every time whenever you will give a particular assertion, the database must have to follow that. It's a must word is there, that is must have to follow that one. But in domain constraint, some domain was there. If you are not putting the data in between that particular domain range, then obviously it will show you a error. So this is what is also a type of your DDL, that is data definition language. Why it is data definition language? Again you are playing with the data. That in case of assertion, when you are giving some condition which have to be followed by your database, or you have which have to be maintained by your database, again some assertion is put that some condition is being put there. So this is also, we are here also we are dealing with the particular data. Again some definition of the data is given. Why definition? Since you are putting that yes, at least 5 courses, so it is also a data. At least 5 courses means what? The course is also your data. Whatever thing you are giving, that is also your data. So again you are giving the definition for your data, that yes, at least 5 courses. That means that is also your definition, at least 5 courses. So This is what is called your assertion in the data definition language. Okay. Now, fourth is authorization. In case of database, it's very important for the authorization, that what kind of authorization will be given to which kind of user. If you are giving authorization to each and every user, that will make a very bad effect, because anyone can go to your particular database, he can insert something, he can delete something, so a particular database cannot be maintained. So the main thing is there, if you are having a particular database, you have to see that in that database, particular database, some authorization should be there, that yes, if this is a college software, then the teachers, whatever details are there of the teacher database, that can be inserted, anything can be done by the office. In the office, the whoever is joining, whoever is going away from the college, who is leaving the college, so this kind of information should be put by the college authorization or the office itself. Again, about the salary, about the leaves which are being taken, so these are particular databases are made by the office, it's maintained by the office. This cannot be maintained by the teachers, staff. Okay, so this particular database is maintained by the office. Since office is putting their everything, each and everything, they are updating, they are inserting, they are deleting, they are doing each and everything, but the teachers can just see the whole database, they have the access of just reading, but they doesn't have the access of deleting anything, inserting any data, or updating the particular database. But if at some time, whenever some privileges are given while they are going to update the database, like they have to put their updated CV, or they have to put some other details about something, so at that time a database will be created where some access will be given to the particular staff, that they can insert some data or they can update their CV. They cannot insert, they can update their CV, they can insert the new one and update their CV. Only that portion will be given some authorization, some access. Authorization means some special privileges, some permissions is given, but these permissions are only can be given by the administrator only. Because again, if the teacher is having some database of the student where some marks, some any other things are given, so they will have the access to insert, update, delete anything within the particular database, but the student will be only able to see his name, his each and every data, and the marks which he had got in his examination or semester. But he or she cannot change anything in the database. They can only have the read privilege or the read authorization. But if something is going to be changed, they can ask the teacher and the teacher will change that one. So this is what is happening. Some authorization are giving on the basis of how the user is going to you're going to use the system, right? Each and every user have a particular access privilege, and each and every user have some, they have some kind of point of view while seeing the database. The student can, they have the point of view of just seeing the database, their marks, they're like this. Again, the teachers, they have the point of view of changing, giving the marks, changing the data, any kind of data changes. So each and every user, they have some uses of the database, but everything is different. Maybe some user, they need the privilege of changing, some user, they need the privilege of reading. So like this, on seeing this all things, that mainly whatever thing are going to be changed or whatever thing authorization have to be given, so on the basis of seeing the uses of the user, this authorization are fixed, right, or given. It can be changed also. So here what is happening, authorization, it mainly gives permissions to user based on their position and requirements. As I have already told you, that you can see the positions of the particular user. The teachers, they have the higher position, so they can insert, delete, they can do anything with the student database. Again, the students have the lower privilege, they have the lower position, so they can only read the data. If they will be given any access to change the data, they will, first of all, they will change their marks, right? So this is what is happening. So they have only the reading privilege. Again, teachers have the changing, they can change the things about the student database, but accounts department or the office is more than in the higher position, so they can change both the databases. They can change the database of the teachers as or staff, and the databases of the student. So they are at a higher level, the higher position. Also they have the requirement to have they can do some changes in this database. So since the position is high, obviously their uses and their requirements are more than these two particular position. Again, staff have the particular position more than the students, so they have also some requirements to give to do some changes in the student database. So these are the different kinds of position, these have the different kind of things the users need, as well as depending on their position and requirement, these permissions or privileges, special privileges are given. Now, so that no unauthorized person can access or manipulate any data which is not needed by, or he which is not his need. What do you mean by that? If some, as I have already told you, if the students are given the access of doing any kind of thing, doing some manipulation in the student database, then they will change their marks. Every marks will be under 100. Again it will be up to 100, and again they will change their attendance. Who is going, they are not coming to the college, they will, what they will do, at the time of point when the attendance is seen, they will just change that one. So they are given only the privilege for reading, because it is not their need to change the marks or to change the attendance or to change any other thing. Again, the teachers cannot change anything about themselves, but they can change something about the students, because that is their need. Unauthorized access from outside also, if someone is getting the database of particular university or particular institution, they can also change something there, they can hack the database. So this unauthorized access can control that. This is why we are giving some authorization, so that this unauthorized access can be controlled by a particular institution. So some authorization is being given. Now, what kind of authorization? There are many kinds of authorizations which are given on the basis of the position and requirement of the people, different users, right? So first one is read authorization. What is read authorization? Which is being used by the students. What is there? It allows reading, not modification. No kind of modification, no any kind of modification, that is neither deleting, neither inserting, neither updation, no kind of any kind of your modification is allowed to the person who is given reading authorization. Only the reading privilege is being given to the particular user, because he is at the lowest level, right? That is the basic levels. So they should not be given any kind of authorization of modification. They are only given the authorization of reading. They can see the database, read each and every portion of the database, but cannot do any kind of modification. That is, I have given you about the example of your students, right? Now, next is insert authorization. What is insert authorization? Obviously, they will be able to insert new data, but other things they are not allowed, right? So, allow insert new data, but no modify previous data. Whatever data is there in the database, they cannot modify anything. They can just insert something in the database, right? So suppose some portion of the office which is given the access of inserting data. They are mainly the admission cell. What the admission cell do? They are going to insert the data. What the new student who have came inside the college, they will just insert the data in this department, this new student, this database, whole database. They are creating the database, but they did not have any access to delete anything, manipulation. That will be done by the office. If some student leaves the college within the first semester itself, that particular data will be deleted, or what modification, that will be done by the office. But admission cell will only have the access to just put the data, insert the data. New student is coming, they are just putting the name and whatever details of the student at this department, particular department, and they are sending that data to the office. Then office will make the particular, again the other things which will be made, the ID card, etc., that will be done by the office. But the admission cell, what they are doing, they are just taking the applications of the student and they are inserting each and every data of the student. They do not have the privilege or permission to do any kind of modification to the previous data, right? Like I am inserting some data, some student A is coming, so I am inserting the data about that is particular student. But if at some time that student is leaving, so his whole database is there. Or suppose the student is going to change his address. So he is going to tell you that he is changing his address. So the admission cell have only the privilege to enter that data. They are inserting one by one data, each and every data, but to modify the data it's not possible. So it is not their privilege. What they will tell the student, they will tell the student to go to the office, where he will give an application that yes, this particular address have been changed. Again, that office person will change that particular address of that student from that particular database, and he will modify, update that one, because it's the previous data which had been inserted. So whenever I am inserting any data in my database, I have to see I have the inserting privilege or the modification privilege also. If the inserting privilege is there, I can only insert my data. If someone asks me to delete anything, update anything of the previous data, I cannot do that one. This is what is there in the insert data, insert authorization. Okay, so you can take the example of your admission cell. Now third one is update authorization. It allows modification, no deletion. Now update authorization is what? Here update means modify, update and modify, that is your updation is going on. Now again, the office person who is going to update the database, he is just updating the database. The address is being given, he is updating the database. Again, he don't have the privilege of, he can just insert, delete, he can just insert and update that one, but to delete a data, particular data, it is not his authorization. Again let's take, it's the authorization of our principal. Whenever a person is going outside the college, he is leaving the college, so he have to give an application to the principal. Now the principal will give the authorization that yes, so and so student have given me the application and he is going outside the college. Now he can give the authorization to the particular office person. There is also a place where they are just deleting that data. They will delete the data and they will modify it. So this is where they can delete the data. But for this person who is in the office, he can update the address of the student. But if someone is leaving the institution, the professor or the staff or the student who is leaving the institution, they do not have the access to delete that particular person until and unless the principal is giving the authorization, or maybe the principal have the access that he can delete the name of that particular person whenever some application is provided there, some resignation is being given. So that's why we are going to give the, whenever we are leaving a particular institution, we are going to give the resignation to a so and so person who is given. He had the access who can delete the name of ours from a particular institution. Again, the students also have the same thing. So this is where some modification can be done, but deletion cannot be done. Again, deletion is a different type of thing, because modification means you, whatever data is there in the previous data, you can modify that one. So first one is reading. First level is reading, only read, nothing else. Second one is you are inserting some data. You can insert some data in the blank space. If some blank is there, you can insert. You can insert a new data. Again, you can insert in some blank space, but you cannot do any kind of modification. Third one, you can do some modification, but you cannot do any kind of deletion. Modification, updation, no deletion, right? Now fourth one is your deletion, that is allowed deletion. Fourth one have the principal sir, that is his access about deletion. He can do any kind of thing. He can delete the name of any person on whenever he is getting any application of that person. So this is the level, this is the hierarchy of the all person. You can see that as the level goes up, level of his the position goes up, the requirements are also going above. So again, according to that requirement, when the requirement is high, the position is high, the authorization is also high. But at the lowest point, they are only having the authorization of your just seeing, reading. No other authorization is given. That is first one. First one is what? The students have the authorization to just see, no modification. Again, here you can see the admission cell, right? Admission cell have the permission of putting the inserting the data. And second one is your office people can do modification but no deletion. And last one is the deletion, which can be done by a principal, because he have all the access, he's getting the particular, because whenever we are leaving any institution, we are not giving any application to the office, we are giving that application to the principal, because he is the head of a particular institution. So only whenever he is getting the application, he can give the authorization to a person, that they can delete the name of that person from the institution list, or maybe he himself can delete the name of that particular person from the list. So this is what is happening in a particular institution or your university. So different authorization and different need have been shown here according to your position. If the position increases, authorization also increases, because the need increases. If the position is low, then authorization is low, since the need is not that much. Okay, so this is what is happening in your particular authorization section. That is also in your DDL, that is your data definition language. Why it is in DDL? Since each and everything you can see there, we are dealing with the data. Authorization of what? Authorization of giving a person permission to deal with the data, to read the data, to modify the data, to insert the data, to delete the data. So what we are doing, we are defining the data. What kind of authorization? So we are defining a data, this kind of range will be authorized to this person. So data definition language, that's why we are having these things under DDL, that is our data definition language. Now again, data manipulation language, this is the second one, that is our DML, that data manipulation. We are going to ask about some manipulations going to be done to your database. Now what is there? It generally enables some access for the user. Now authorization was there, now some access, person can access. Now authorization was what? We were giving reading, writing, any kind of modification, this was their authorization. Now we have some access. Now in accessing the database also, we are giving some permissions. That accessing is your manipulation. Since you are going to access your database, some manipulation will be done to the data. So first one is your retrieval of information, insertion of new information. Manipulation, since you are inserting some new information, so here it is called retrieval of information. What retrieval of information? You are inserting some new kind of information. Maybe some information is there, you are going to change that one, that is your modification. But when I am inserting some new kind of information in my database, that is I am retrieving, so I am doing some retrieval. Retrieval of information is a type of DML, that is manipulation language. Again, deletion of information, that is modification of information. When I am going to delete, at that time I am going to modify. So deletion and insertion, your retrieval of information and your deletion of information. So since we are doing some kind of manipulations to the data, modification means again some manipulation, so this is called DML. DML have this kind of access, insert, retrieval and manipulation, that is your deletion. Now types of DML, what are the different types of DML? Okay, so data manipulation language have some types, that is a procedural and non-procedural. These are the kinds of DML, that is your data manipulation language. Let's see. First one is the procedural DML, require user to specify what data needed and how to get those data. That is procedural, means it is following some procedure. Procedural language means what? Some procedure is being followed, some step-by-step process are being followed. So what it is following? Require a user to specify. What the user have to specify? What data are needed and how to get those data. It is specifying for the user what data they need, what kind of data they need, and how they can get that data, how to retrieve that data from my database. As I have already told you, retrieving and deletion, this is the thing what is going to happen in DML, manipulation language, retrieving and your deletion. So what kind of data I need, what kind of data a person needs. So this is the main point, the data needed by the person, need of the person, and how he is going to interact with the database, how he is going to retrieval that particular data. So this is what is there in your first one, that is procedural. I am following a procedure, I need this data, I am retrieving that data. So this is what is the procedural DML. Okay, And second version is your declarative DML, require user to specify what data are needed without specifying how to get those data. Non-procedural, right? So it is the non-procedural. Why non-procedural? Because here I am showing that what data are needed, but how to get those data is not shown there. That is procedural. We know that what data we are going to we need and how we are going to retrieve that data. But in non-procedural, that is your declarative. There only I have the DML where I only know about what data I need, but how to get data, that data is not there, right? So require user to specify what data are needed without specifying how to get that data. Here the procedure is not given. There the user have to specify what data he needs, also the procedure to get that data, how to get that data. That's why it's procedural. But here what is happening in declarative or non-procedural, here the user have to specify what data he needs, but he have not to specify the procedure, that how to get data. That data is not shown there. That is why it is called a non-procedural. That is procedural, the procedure is shown, here procedure is not shown, non-procedural. Simple. But these are the kind of our DML, manipulation languages, data manipulation languages. Then now next one is your data administrator. So this is the basic thing. As I have already told you that two kinds of languages are main here, that is our DDL and DML. They have this kind of procedures. Again, next level we are going to study about a DBA. What is a DBA? The database administrator. In previous class also, in this class also, I have told you many times, I have told that about database administrator or the administrator who have the privilege to do each and everything, right? So who is this administrator? In case of database management system, the administrator of the database is known as DBA, database administrator. It's a post also. Whenever you're going for any Oracle company or anything, you can see that first post is DBA, that is database administrator. It's a very important post because he have all the privileges. He is setting each and everything. He is doing the basic thing about the main thing about your database, right? So a DBA is an individual person, maybe an individual person or a group of person with an overview of one or more databases, so control the design and use of the database. As I have told you each and every time that he is giving the privileges, he is making the schema of the database. Each and every time you can see that administrator have all the access of the database. It can be a person, it can be a group of person, which is known as DBA, that is your database administrator, right? And that person is having an overview of one or more databases. Suppose there are one database which is being maintained, there also a DBA is maintaining one database, and if there are a number of databases, also there are a group of persons who is maintaining that particular databases, different databases of particular database. One person, maybe he is going to have the overview of all the databases. Obviously, again, many persons can also have a access of one database. So this can be a person or many person who is having the overview of the whole database or the number of databases which is there within a particular institution. Now, who control the design and use of the database? What kind of use is going to be of the database, particular database? So that person is having the overview, okay, then he is doing the control of the database, what kind of things are going on, and again he can give the access also, and the use of the database is also controlled by that person. Basically, he is the main person who is controlling the whole databases. That is your DBA, administrator, right? Now, functions and responsibilities of DBA. If a person is a DBA or a group of person are DBA, then what kind of functions they are going to do, right? So functions of DBA. First one is define conceptual schema. Then what is conceptual schema? Schema is the whole database, designing of the whole database, the blueprint of your whole database. That is your schema. So the conceptual level of your schema, right, that is being defined by this DBA. Again, and database creation. creating the whole database. Obviously, who will make the blueprint of the database, he is also going to create. So he is having the blueprint of the database, he is defining the schema, conceptual schema of the database, as well as he is designing the database. This is the first and main function of your DBA, right? So the DBA create the original database schema and the structure of the database. So the structure of the database and the original schema, that is the original blueprint, is being made by the DBA. He is just creating the whole schema and he is making the database. This is the main function of your DBA: making the schema, making the database, creating the database, right? So each and everything which is being created, but first of all the creation of the table of each and every, if suppose the employee table or the student table, so each and everything, what kind of attributes, what kind of designing will be there, what kind of constants will be given, what kind of assertions will be given, so these all things are being given by the particular your particular database DBA administrator. Okay, now second one is storage structure and access method definition. Your storage structure and access method, that is how and where the storage is going to be done, where the database is going to be stored, and the access, what kind of access you are going to give, that I have already told you, that authorization, what kind of access we are going to give to the particular person or the particular user, that is also done by the DBA, that is your database administrator. So DBA define the storage structure of the database and access method of the data from the database. What kind of access, that here we have seen what kind of access is there: authorization, deletion, these are the different kinds of accesses. Again, referential, or it is going to delete. So these are the different accesses or the authorizations which are going to be given. So storage is very important, where which kind of database is going to be stored, that is also finalized by the DBA. The DBA is doing these all things. Again, he is giving the authorization, who will have which kind of authorization. Here we have seen these are the authorizations which have been given, the who is going to access, what is unauthorized access, which will be called unauthorized access to the particular database, what kind of people should be, again they can be they should not be accessed, okay, the who should not access my database and who should be given the permission to access my database. So these all things are going to be the function of the DBA to control that thing also, where the database is going to be stored, as well as how the data, who the persons are who have given the access to see the database, or they have the access to retrieve information from the database, or who have the access to modify the database. So basically these all things are also the function of the DBA. So you can see how important is the function of the DBA. Basically the whole database system is being controlled by the DBA, right? Again, third one is granting authorization to the users, right? Now access control, they have given which kind of access should be, who should be given the correct access, or which is the illegal access, which should be not be permitted, or which should be removed. So this kind of thing is there. Again, the authorization, the reading authorization, updation authorization, insertion authorization, and your deletion authorization. So these kind of authorizations which we have studied, these authorizations are also given by the DBA, right? Now the DBA grant access to use of the database to the user. The DBA can only grant, who is giving this grant? We have studied here that principal have this access, the staff have this access, the student have this access. So these are the access which are being permitted. But who is permitting that one? Who is granting that access? That is the DBA who is granting this all access, on the basis of the position of the people or the position of the users of the database, as well as on the requirements of need of the users of the database. The particular DBA is giving these permissions, these authorizations. So now you can understand that who is doing these things. Here we have studied only that this access have been given, this kind of authorization have given to this position people, but who is giving, the main things, that who is giving that permission, who is giving the whole permission, that is the DBA who is giving this all permissions, right? Now next is routing maintenance. Again, if you are having any kind of particular thing, right, so to, if you are playing with that thing, or if you are working with that particular thing, then you only have the privilege, or you only have that thing, that you have to maintain that thing also. if you have any kind of apparatus, or if you have any kind of gadget, so if you're using that gadget or you're working with that gadget, then to maintain the gadget is also a work of yours only, right? So here, since the DBA is doing these all things, he's creating the database, he is giving privileges, he is having the schema, he is making the schema, he is having the overview of the whole database, he is maintaining the database. Basically, the one word, he is maintaining the whole database. So obviously this maintenance is also the work of the DBA. He is working with the whole database, then maintenance is also the work of the DBA. How? The DBA maintain periodical backup of the database. Periodical backup, why? He should have a periodical backup of maybe 1 month, maybe 1 year, maybe 6 months, maybe 4 months. So this periodical backup should be taken by the DBA, because if any kind of hazards occur, any kind of if some crashes occur, then this backup will be helpful for the DBA to again extract the previous data. So obviously the DBA should have some backup of the database, that is either onto hard disk or compact disk into remote server to prevent loss of data in case of any disaster, crash of wire, flood, fire, etc. So these are what some disasters are there, some hazards can be there, crash of wires can be there, fire can be there, flood can be there. So these are the different hazards or disasters which can occur. If this kind of disasters occur, then to again save, it have to save the whole database, the DB have to save the whole database, so that the whatever things are there in the database, they are not lost. Okay, they are not hampered, they are not lost by this kind of disasters. To maintain the database is also the work of your DBA. So he have to do some periodical backup. Maybe in case of hard disk, they can be taken in the hard disk or some compact disk, right? Why? Into some remotes or into some remote server, he can place that in a remote server where it can be saved, so that to prevent loss of data. My data should not be lost, because huge data are there in the database. While who is making the database, you can see, you can ask them, you can go to your college, you can ask the person who is maintaining the database, you can ask them that huge and huge collection of databases are there, huge and huge collection of data are there, year and year of data are there present, and if they are lost, it is a it's a very huge loss for the institution. So the DBA, what they do, they basically have some periodical backup in some hard disk or compact disk or some remote server. They are placing the databases in some periodical backup is done, because so that if any kind of hazard or any kind of disasters occur, so my data will be saved within me, right, with me, so that if again after that time when I'm going to use that one, I have the data in a safer place. So this is also a main task of the DBA. The person who are going to create, who are going to deal with the database, right, they are many in number, but to secure the database, we are inserting the data, we are deleting the data, modifying it. This is a work of different people, as you can see there. But to maintain the database, to have the maintenance, to have the backup of the database for this kind of disaster, that is the work of the DBA. So you can understand from these all functions that how important is the DBA for a particular database. He is the main person who is related to the database. Each and every privilege, each and every access, each and the creation of the database, each and everything, as well as the maintenance, the taking of the backup of your database, that is also maintained by your DBA. Database administrator is the very important person who is doing each and everything with the database, who is not only dealing but also maintaining the database. The main thing is the maintenance. Making the database and putting each and everything is very easy, but to keep the backup of the database, so that in case of any disaster, the data is not lost, and to make the database safe, right, that is the main function, and that is the work of your DBA. So basically this function of DBA, and what is DBA, this comes in your examination. It's a very important topic, in case of your database DBMS. Okay, now database users. Now DBA is the person who is giving the privileges. Next comes the database users. Now next is the user who is going to use the database. DBA is the person who is controlling the database. User is the person who is working with the different kinds of different levels of your data. So DBA is the grantor and the user, that is our users, are the taker, or they are they are just playing with the data. Okay, they are just dealing with the data, but the main king is the DBA. He is giving each and everything, right? Now here users are different kinds. Users are also of different kinds. Not only user means not only one kind of user. Users are also of different kinds. There are 4 kinds of users. One is naive user, application programmers, sophisticated user, and specified users, specialized users. So why these are called these different kinds of users? They have some different they are doing some different work, so that they have been placed in these 4 categories. Different 4 categories. Why they have been placed in these categories? Now let's see. First one is the naive user, right? The naive user, sophisticated user who interact with the system by invoking one of the application programs that have been written previously. Example, form fill up in websites. Now if a person is doing some kind of, suppose we are giving some examination, right? So what happens? We go to the website of that particular institution, or that particular whatever that institution, or your, suppose you are going for UPSC, or you are going for any other examination. So you are going to their particular website, and you are just opening the particular form which is going to be filled up. You are doing online fill up of your form, and you are just submitting that one. So you are a naive user. Why you are a naive user? Again, see the definition. Sophisticated users, you are some sophisticated user who interact with the system. They are interacting with the system. Again, whenever we are doing any kind of job, we are a user. That means we are interacting with the system by invoking one of the application programs. What is this application programs? Those programs which have been made by some application programmer, right? Some programmer have made these programs. Some applications have been given there. So these applications program, we are just invoking those programs that have been written previously, that is being made previously. The whole form is being made previously. It is, the whole form is joined with some database. Whatever things you are putting in the form, you are fill upping the form, and that thing will be saved to the database related to that particular institution. So this is what this application program, the making of this particular form is being done by some application programmer by using maybe some HTML, maybe CSV. So they are using some kind of application programs, and they are making this particular form. It is not made by you, it is made by them. So it is the work of some previous person. Previously this work have been done, and you are just using that particular work, right? This had been previously written. Some program have been previously written, and this application program which has been written previously, you are just interacting, you are using that one. You are a user of that previously written program. That is why you are a sophisticated user who is interacting with some previously written application program. You are invoking, you are interacting with the system by the help of invoking some previously written application program. So you are a naive user. Naive user, like form fill up in websites. Different websites, the form is being made by some user, and what we do, we are just going to fill the form. Only we are filling the form and submitting. We are not writing the program to how the form is being made, or how the form is generated, and how the data is saving. Nothing. We are just dealing with the whole thing. We are invoking that particular application program which had been created previously by some other person. We are just taking the advantage. We are just putting our name and submitting that one. That's all. But the person who had made that thing, that is the application programmer who had made that application, where you are invoking which one, right? So naive user, basically they invoke or they work with, they are using a particular program which had been made previously by other person. Then second one is application programmer. Application programmer who is making the program, right? So computer professional who write application programs. We are using the programs made by the application programmer, which had been made previously. Now, application program is the person who is the computer professional who is making that program, that application program. So he is the creator of the program. We are naive users is we are using his previously made program, and the application programmer is making that program, right? Now, they can choose from many tools to develop user interfaces. What are user interfaces? The interfaces which is user friendly. So these interfaces, that was this form. So who is making that one? These application programmers make that one. Why we are calling that is user interface? Since it is user friendly, the user is using that particular interface. So it is a user interface which is being made by the application programmer. Then they can choose from many tools, right? There are so many tools to develop these user interfaces. RAG tools are tools that enable an application program to construct forms and reports with minimal programming effort. RAD is rapid action development. That is your rapid action development. So this is your rapid action development tool, right? So rapid action development tool, this is your RAD model. Also we have studied in our software engineering classes what was the RAD model. So rapid action development tools, they are some kind of tools which is used to make this kind of user interfaces, and the main thing is that they make the application program, they enables the application program to construct forms and reports with some minimal programming effort. Since if you are going to make the particular application program, you are going to make some form with the help of HTML or JSP, programming effort is more. But if you are going to use the RAG tools, the programming effort will be lesser than with according to these other things. So RAD is an example where we can say that application programmers are using this kind of tools. Different tools are there also. That tools are being used by them to develop this kind of user interfaces. They are developing the user interfaces which is being used by the naive user, right? Now, third one is your sophisticated users. Now, who are sophisticated users? They interact with the system without writing programs. They are again interacting with the system. They are also interacting with the system, but they are not writing any kind of program. Naive users are also interacting with the system. They are also not writing any program. But what is the difference between them? Instead, they form their request either using a database query language or by tools such as data analysis software. Analysts are who submits queries. What is the difference between naive user and your sophisticated user? Naive user are also, see, they are also sophisticated user. They are also not writing any kind of program, but they are also not giving any kind of query. They are not doing any kind of thing. They are just using or invoking a particular application program. They are using the application program which had been made previously. But sophisticated users, what they do, they are also not writing any kind of program, but what they are doing, they form their own request either using a database query language or by using tools such as data analysis software. Either they are using some data analysis software or they are making some queries, like as we are doing in DBMS. What we are doing, we are making some queries. By the help of those query language, we are interacting with the database. We are not writing any program. No program is been written by naive users also, sophisticated users also. Naive users are kind of sophisticated users. They are not writing any kind of program, but they are interacting with the system with the help of some application programs which have been made previously. They are not doing any kind of hard work. They are just going and using the system. But sophisticated users are also not writing program, but they are making their queries. They are making some kind of queries with the help of some languages. Again, SQL language we are using here. Again, they can use some data analysis software. Analysts are those person who are submitting queries. The person who is submitting queries, they are known as analyst. So this is the thing which is happening, which is the difference between your sophisticated user and your naive user. Again, some special kind of users are there who are known as specialized users. Fourth kind of user. Now, who are they? They are also sophisticated users, who write specialized database applications that do not fit into the traditional data processing framework. Now, they are also sophisticated users. They are not writing any kind of programs, right? But who write some specialized database applications that do not fit into the traditional data processing framework. The traditional data processing framework which we are using, they are writing some different thing, right? They are writing some database applications. They are making some database applications, specialized database application. How? Example, among these applications are computer aided designing, right? Computer aided designing, that is your CAD. Nowadays it's very interesting thing that is about CAD. You can see that how the computer aided designing is done. So this is a thing which is not programming, but it is a kind of database application, specialized database application, which is different from the traditional database framework. What we were doing in the traditional database system, it is different from that one. That is your CAD. Second is system that stores data with complex data types. For example, graphics data and audio data. When we are dealing with the graphics data or we are dealing with the audio data, so this kind of graphics data and your audio data, the system or the particular system which is storing this kind of data, right? Storing this kind of data is complex data. Complex data means some which is very complex, that is graphics and your audio data, these are complex to be shown or to be stored. So these kind of data when dealt with, this is also different from the traditional database, whatever we have done in the traditional framework. This is different from that traditional framework. So again, they are these people who are dealing with this